This is the Archangel 2210, and I'm going to talk to you about mainly fairy tales, but I'm going to be also talk about this past episode of Once Upon a Time. Oh my goodness, I this show, it's like every episode hooks me in. It's just a fantastic show. Basically, it was revealed of like you know the curse itself, the steps that she took in actually doing the curse. You know, and that she actually had to kill her own father to complete the curse. I was like, holy crap. It was like, and then her father in the in our world is the adoptive son, which is like, I completely was not expecting that. I was not expecting that at all, because they kept saying, oh, that he might be Pinocchio, which I was like, I don't think that he is. But I was like, okay. And then he's actually that character. I was like, oh, wow. And then him being born into the world might explain why he knows everyone's a fairy tale creature. It's like, I really love the actress that plays Snow White. You know, forgive me if I don't know her name, but um, she does a really good job because she has two roles that she's doing. You know, her the two versions of Snow White, um, they essentially are two separate people. You know, I know how everyone else is, but hers really is like two separate personalities. You know, because the evil queen in both worlds is relatively she's the same. You know, she has the same personality, the same dark streak. The queen still has the same um, sense of domination and wanting to rule over people with fear. You know, so she's pretty much the same in both realities. But Snow White, she's filled with unsure, like she's unsure about herself and her surroundings, and a feeling of hopelessness and insecurities, and you know, and in the fairy tale world, she was not full of herself, but she was confident and beautiful and filled with hope and faith. And since, of course, the queen was molding them of how they were going to be in this new world, she ripped all that away from her. And it's still not revealed what Snow White did to the queen. They're hinting that somehow she took the father away from her, that maybe she's responsible for the king's death in some way. But and that's kind of how that's her motivation for trying to rip her happiness away from Snow White. And the odd thing is, this whole episode, and like she's evil, she's this evil vindictive queen who wants to do this curse, but in an odd way, during her whole emotional scenes in the fairy tale land, you were very you know sympathetic to her in a way, because and the way she played it, the actress that played the queen, she really was in a way where she was, for those brief moments, behind all her anger and rage, there was a moment of just pain. And that's really behind her wanting to take everything from Snow White. There's a layer of pain there. There's a layer of all that deep inside, and you almost really feel bad for her. And it's like, wow, what happened that got her to this point, that she would do whatever it takes to make her life miserable. And just because usually whenever they have a villain in a movie or a fairy tale thing, they're just a villain, that's it. They're just bad. But it now they're trying to, they always add layers and layers and layers. Like, no, there's a reason why this happened, and it's a series of events. Like, she was already bad to begin with, but it just kind of it made things kind of worse. And they actually showed the Maleficent character in this second episode, where I was very surprised. I didn't think they were going to show that character in there, having Maleficent, and they mentioned Sleeping Beauty, and I was like, wow, I didn't think they were going to bring that character in there. And they were talking about the sleeping curse and everything, and I was like, wow, I'm surprised that they used the name more than anything of Maleficent, because that's the Disney name of that character. And then I remembered it's on ABC. ABC's under the Disney umbrella, so I was like, okay, that's how they got the okay to do it. But at first I didn't really recognize her, because they gave Maleficent a huge makeover. They made her really glamorous and gave her long blonde hair, and made her have her wear this frilly purple dress and everything. Like I really wasn't crazy about. She looked too foofy. Like the evil queen, the other evil queen, like phenomenal, like very crazy. So she basically just took the curse from her, because she had it from her. She traded it to her, and she wanted the curse that would take them to another world. And she basically killed her father and ripped out his heart. But it's not like she just did it and just did it emotionless. She did it, and she was really truly torn in doing it. She really did not want to do it. She was like, I'm torn, and he knew it was coming. He's like, because she said, I have to take the heart of the one I love the most. And he said, it's me, because he was the only one that was still by her side and still loved her and knew who she really was and everything, and I was like, holy moly. It's like, and she actually did do it. Like, you knew she was going to do it, because she actually does make the curse. But even when she still does it, I was still kind of surprised, because she was so torn, and she was so, like, she didn't know, she really didn't want to kill him, but she wanted her happiness so desperately, she would have done anything to do it. Now, I am totally hooked on this show. It is a phenomenal show. It's a must watch. It's a complete must watch. Even if you have not seen a few episodes, they actually show last week's episode right before it. So in case you want to catch up, at 7 on Sundays, they show the episode prior, and then they show the new episode, which I think is a really great idea. They don't really do that anymore, for some shows, because they always try to get new programming and try to squeeze a new show in there. But that's a great way to get people to catch them up in case they miss last week's episode. Now, I'm gonna talk about the Snow White movies that are coming out, because there's 2 of them. Now, 2 of them that are going to be, they're going to be coming out sometime this year or next year. 2 totally different versions. One is going to be starring Kristen Stewart, from the Twilight movies, and other actors I don't know. And both of them completely separate, completely different. One is going to be a lot darker. One is going to be very bright and cheery and campy. And really not much has been revealed other than that. Just basically that they're both different. Now, the darker version, they're kind of, I think it's called Snow White and the Huntsman, where she's basically going to be trained by the huntsman to be some sort of warrior or something, and she's wearing, only one picture has been released where she's wearing, like, metal armor, and it kind of reminded me of Alice in Wonderland that Tim Burton did, where she was this young woman, and, she was basically didn't know which direction to take in her life, and then towards the end she became sure of herself, and she had the armor on herself. I just don't know if that's the best direction to go with Snow White, but we'll wait and see. Now, with the campy version, uh, I don't know. It's like I kind of feel like you really can't go all the way campy and you really can't go all the way dark. You kind of have to be somewhere in the middle. And I feel like this show, Once Upon a Time, is in that middle ground. It's in that point where it's not crazy, crazy dark, but it's not crazy, crazy light either. It's right in that groove where it has fantastic writing. It's a phenomenal cast. You know, it's just and a really great story. It's I could really see this lasting a good 5, 7, even 10 years, and I hope it does. You know, because it's a great show. Now, movies, I'm not excited about the Snow White movies. I'm curious about them. I'll probably watch them, but I'm not as excited about that as I am about the TV show. Um, Now I have heard rumors. I think they are confirmed that they are going to do a Little Mermaid movie. No pictures, no casting has been released or anything, but just the fact that they want to do a Little Mermaid movie, that was I think like several months ago. And it's going to be more like the original fairy tale, where it doesn't have that much of a happy ending, and actual visual versions written by Hans Christian Andersen, not the Brothers Grimm. But the Brothers Grimm actually wrote over 211 fairy tales. A lot of them that everybody knows, or at least knows a variation of, and a lot of them that are pretty much the obscure ones that no one ever heard of. Same thing with Hans Christian Andersen. They both wrote over 200 fairy tales, stories, short stories, and not every single one of them deals with like the cookie cutter print fairy tale template that everyone thinks all of them are, which is princess, evil witch, curse, prince, a magical ally of some sort, and a fight ensues, or it's not every story is like that. A lot of them are completely different. You know, and I don't mean just Goldilocks or Little Red Riding Hood. There's other stories that people may not have heard of. I think like the Brothers Grimm wrote one of The Willful Child. It's about a kid that dies and they bury him, and then he, tries to come back. But so there are some really dark stories that they wrote that aren't exactly what it make the qualifications of a Disney movie, but but anyway, I'm kind of rambling. Yeah, Little Mermaid, the original version, it actually has more of a sad ending, and they're actually going to follow that ending closely. The whole motivation that the mermaid has is that she wants to become human, not because she falls in love. That's actually more of the bonus. She wanted to become human because, in the mythological sense and in the story itself, mermaids are immortal, so they don't have a soul as much as we do. So she wanted to become human so she could have a soul, a human soul, and have emotion and be able to live life and dance and fall in love and everything. But of course, she made the trade with the evil witch, took her voice to give her some legs. Now, how in the movie, Ariel, she can't really walk, stand on her own 2 feet. She's tripping all over the place. In the original story, it was the part of the deal was that she would have grace and beauty, and every step would feel like a dance and all that stuff. But every time she made a step on her 2 feet, it felt like she was walking on broken glass. And at the end of the day, when she took her shoes off, blood would pour out of her shoe, and I was like, oh my god, that imagery is just so fantastic. It's like, that's like, oh my, you would not get that in any movie. That's just so amazing. If they do that in the Little Mermaid movie, that would be amazing right there. That whole broken glass and bloody feet. It's like the stuff that she went through to have her happiness and eventually have the man that she loves. But that was ripped away from her too, and basically, he fell in love with someone else. He thought some other girl saved him in the water, and she can't say, "Dude, it's me." So basically, her sisters went to the witch to get a cure to make her a mermaid again, and they said, "Listen, for you to become a mermaid again, because this didn't work out, what you gotta do is take a knife, stab him in the heart, and let the blood run on your feet." There was a lot of imagery of blood in some of the fairy tales, I'll admit. And she's like, "I ain't gonna do that. I don't want to kill him. Let him marry this girl." So then she decided to jump in the water. She turned into sea foam, died, and then she became some sort of like siren, and then she is like on this quest to this never-ending quest to earn her soul. So in a way, she does get her happy ending, but it's still like bittersweet because she dies, but she's still on this journey to meet her ultimate goal, which is to have that soul that she wanted in the first place. So it's a bittersweet ending, but she still has that, she's on the path that she wants. And if they do that whole scenario, that'll be a great film, you know. Now, there are a lot of films that I think will translate nicely. A lot of fairy tales I think will translate nicely into a film. And I would love to see them as cameos in like Once Upon a Time. You know, in this fairy tale land, you know, of course, like the Princess and the Pea and Princess and the Frog and Rapunzel. I'm kind of curious if they'll have those characters pop up in the fairy tale land, you know, or if they'll have other characters that are even written by Hans Christian Andersen, like Thumbelina, you know, Little Mermaid. I'm kind of interested if they'll have those cameos pop up in the Once Upon a Time, you know, like if they'll have Cinderella and all those other characters pop up. I don't think so, but you never know. We already saw Maleficent. I wasn't expecting that cameo, so there's a possibility we might see them in the flashback sequences when they go to Fairy Tale Land. Some of the other characters, if they do, that'll be really amazing. Because I thought they were just gonna focus on Snow White, the evil queen, her prince, and her family, and then that was it. They weren't gonna focus on any other fairy tale, you know, royalty. But already having Maleficent in there kind of puts that little possibility in the mist. So I think I pretty much said a lot already, and I'm gonna leave it up to you now. Write a comment below on what you think on the episode previously, and what you think about the upcoming Snow White movies that are coming out, and the Little Mermaid movie that might be coming out soon.